Woo! It feels good to be back. Be back. Welcome to the Prime, everybody. This is Israel Rivera. We've been on a little hiatus for a little while here. But we back. With the rest and the best of your sports world topics. Now, we just wrapped up the first week in the NBA season. Shout out to the NBA, because we back and they back. It's the World Series. We in the middle of the NFL season. We'll give hockey a little bit of love. Hey. But I'm here to talk about that first week. Thursday night football. Deshawn Watson, 5 touchdowns. I think he's the only quarterback or the second quarterback in the Super Bowl era to have 2 seasons, or he's the only quarterback in the Super Bowl era to have back-to-back seasons with games of 5 touchdowns or more. Unreal. I wonder who passed up on him. A lot of teams. And like I said, we're going to go a little bit over the World Series. That's looking like a rout. But it feels so good to be back. The Prime. Woo! Now, a lot of stuff has happened over the off season here, and we just gone through the first week in the NBA season, and I'll say it's been a pretty successful campaign. A lot of points scored, but it looked like there's no defense out there. But as we're starting to get into like this second week of the NBA, the beginning of the second week of the NBA, shoot, we're not even 7. I think we are. Yeah, we're a little bit over 7 games of the season. The NBA, it's just every team. You're talking about garbage teams scoring 130 or more. So. But now you're seeing in the second week of the season, you're starting to see teams dwindle down 115, 100, 110, 98, 95. And you'll see that. First week or two, a lot of new teammates. Some players didn't get any preseason work. Some players did get preseason work. But you're just starting to see like the defenses mesh, the offenses mesh. But the consensus is in the NBA, it's just like football, just like baseball in the batter's box. The game is tailored for more offense, sped up play. People want to see that. Nobody wants to see an 85-90 grinded out game. They don't care about steals or blocks or rebounds. They want to see threes, dunks, and spectacular layups. So, first week in NBA season is pretty much what I've seen in recent years. High points scored. A lot of threes being taken by teams. Everybody's trying to be, has that blueprint of what the Houston Rockets or Golden State Warriors. 3-point shooting. A lot of skill players. Not really any true big men in the game anymore. But nonetheless, I like the way the NBA is going. Would like to see a little bit, more defense, more attention paid to that side of the ball, because you just see the trickle effect to the kids, in the lower levels. They may not work on that game, than the offensive game. But anyways. Going back to the season, let's talk about the pros actually. Big splash moves that, there was made all over, Kawhi Leonard being traded, LeBron James going to the Lakers, Paul George staying in OKC, among other moves. And then drama, around the league, especially with the Minnesota Timberwolves and Jimmy Butler, getting into it with his teammates, Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. And for Minnesota to actually want to keep that drama, it's kind of funny. Sort of like Tom Thibodeau saying, hey, you guys are brothers. You guys played for a whole year. I know you guys don't like each other, but, you guys are family, so, stick together. But it doesn't work like that in the NBA. Somebody don't want to be there. Somebody don't want to be there. And you can see it in Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, he was probably the one that was most affected. Jimmy was more, took jabs at in the media before, you hear rumblings of, Jimmy's, didn't like how Karl Anthony Towns, went about his work ethic and practice and working on his game and stuff like that. He feels like Karl Anthony Towns could do more. And I think he can. I think Karl Anthony Towns does like that mental fortitude, mental toughness to score. He can be a 25 to 30 point. I mean, he should be the best big man in the game. Let's just put it out. He's got all the tools. He can block shots. He can rebound. He's athletic. He's tall. He's long. He can shoot threes. He can shoot twos. He's got, he can play bully ball. He can, shoot over the right shoulder. He can shoot over the left shoulder, in terms of a hook shot. And if he can put his effort, and this is why I talk about defense, and you're talking about a kid that was playing for the Dominican, national team, starting for their senior team, at 18 or 19, whatever that means. But, this is what you talk about when, a player is working only on his offense and not his defense. I mean, you could tell, he's not concentrating more on that side of the ball. Because if he did, he'd be up there with the Anthony Davises of the world, with the Giannis Antetokounmpos of the world. In terms of guys that are two-way stars, he should be a top 10 player in the league, and he's barely, top 25, even top 30 in terms of stats-wise. I feel where Jimmy's at on that situation, but I just think and you hear the news today with Woj coming out, the Rockets offered 4 future first round picks. Now they can't go back to back to back, but they can go every other year. And for Jimmy Butler, and the money has to work, obviously, so you got to throw in a couple players in that trade as well to make the money work, because picks don't hold any value. So with the Timberwolves, I think eventually Jimmy Butler's going to get traded. He's going to get what he wants. He's going to go to a contender. And Timberwolves probably not going to make the playoffs this year. If they do, they're probably going to be an 8th seed. They're going to be first, easy out. One good bright spot about the Timberwolves, I would say, is that Derrick Rose is actually looking really healthy this year. He has a good burst. He's getting a lot of tick. Which means minutes for people who don't know what that means. And so he's getting a lot of tick. You can see the confidence in his game. He had a whole offseason in which he didn't have to rehab. He had an offseason in which he can enjoy life and train and work on his game instead of having to get back from a major injury or major surgery. And he's looked really fantastic. First few games of the year. I think he's had 4 straight games in which he's gotten in double digits scoring, and so that's pretty encouraging. Everybody wants to see the guy play basketball at a high level again, and not be relegated to the end of the bench or just a spot up shooter. And you actually see him get put in some situations in transition and high pick and roll plays. With the Timberwolves, with Karl Anthony Towns, you could see that burst that D-Rose still has. He still has that mid-range jumper. He can still, when he's getting it on, he can, make a couple open threes. He can still get to the cup. He can still do that. That's at will. Obviously he's not the old D-Rose. He's not going to be jumping over people and dunking on people. Obviously, that's what contributed to his knees, going out bad. When you're 6'1", 6'2", trying to jump 40 inches in the air, and you got to land. Come on now. So, So, Derrick Rose is a very smart player. And you know what? Allen Iverson, and a lot of NBA players, they used to dunk a lot early on in their career. Got injuries here and there, whatnot, have you. And, they stopped dunking and, just laid the ball up. You ain't got to dunk it all the time. There was a play, I think, the other day that he had split the defender, went down the middle. I'm like, man, old D Rose would have tomahawked that. But he just laid it up, made the simple play. And that's where you see the progression as a NBA veteran, point guard in this league, a person that knows how to take care of his body and just to make the simple play. And so just seeing that, very encouraging, especially old Bulls fans, Chicago basketball fans, people from Chicago or the Midwest or whatever the case is. And if you're just a pure basketball fan, you're rooting for Derrick Rose. So back to like LeBron and the Lakers, they started off 0-3 versus 3 playoff teams at that. Okay, 3 playoff teams. They played Portland. I believe they played San Antonio. And then, they just got their first win against the Suns. They just had a really good game. They just played another playoff team. Well, I think is going to be a playoff team this year. They lost the last game of the year to the Timberwolves for a playoff spot in the Denver Nuggets. But I think the Lakers, they the Rockets is what I was talking about. So it was the Timberwolves, Rockets, Spurs. Anyways, and Rockets, who could forget that game? The Rondo spit in the face of Chris Paul. Let's throw down some hands in the middle of the court game there. Almost a Malice in the Palace too, but not quite so. But anyways, you played 3 playoff teams. You're a brand new team. You're still trying to figure out the rotations or whatnot. And they were scoring like 130 points a game. Like I said, there's just those first 3 games where everybody was scoring 130 points a game. Now you're starting to see, but this 4th, 5th. Now we're gonna see a 6th game, coming up here with the LeBron Lakers, on Saturday against San Antonio, which should be a good revenge game from that close loss they had a couple days ago in OT, in which they had that game, and then they gave it away. LeBron missed 2 free throws or whatnot, but anyways, so far, I actually like the Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, even Lance Stevenson dynamic with LeBron James. I think, spaces the floor. It gives you guys that can create in space, that can create for each other. And especially if they could gel together and they could, get in transition and get those transition points, get that swagger, get that confidence going, knock down a couple easy shots, then the basket looks like a big freaking toilet bowl. I mean, you could just shoot it up there and it goes in. So, meaning it looks really big. So, you get a couple shots, and anybody who knows this in basketball, you're playing pickup at the Y or whatever the case is, high school, grammar school, college. You get a couple shots in you to fall down. You get some confidence going. You play some defense. You get in transition, get some easy buckets. Then those hard shots start falling. Those threes, step back shots. Stuff like that. So I see, I like that dynamic. And not to say anything against Rondo or Brandon Ingram. And I know Shaq on TNT had his, him and Kenny, and other people were saying, oh, Lonzo ain't ready. Lonzo's not ready. I think Lonzo's ready. He's the type of dude. Lonzo's the type of guy I think that's like. He was, top, high pick, top 2 pick. He's the type of guy that, needs to be, starting, to gain that confidence. I saw, he, like I said, and Shaq said it too early on the TNT broadcast per Turner Sports. Shaq said that, man, if that dude keeps playing like that with that step back 3 that he hit on Jokic, I mean, now you're talking about that's dynamic. He start over Rondo with that, but right now he's just too raw. Very athletic. Has great passing skills. he can see the floor. And he, I think he's more athletic than Rondo. Obviously, he could probably shoot better than Rondo once he starts getting that confidence going down. But I think right now at this stage in the season, not in his career, in the season, especially coming off that knee injury, Lonzo should be coming off the bench. Per the analysts around the world. But, I think the kid should be starting, in my opinion, because I believe that Lonzo needs that confidence. And he's the future of the franchise. I mean, after LeBron is done, Lonzo's going to be there, and Kuzma's going to be there, and Brandon Ingram's going to be there. And LeBron is pretty much that gap for those young guys. Once they win, and say they win a title or two, barring if they could beat Houston, if they could beat Golden State, barring if they can bring in another free agent in the next class, and who knows, this Laker team might change, next season, especially with the 1-year deals that they have. But going back to that, once his team starts to gel or whatever the case is, that gap that LeBron's pretty much going to show them how to win, the young dudes. And, those guys are all young, in the early 20s. And so, down the road when LeBron's in his 30s, he's 34, 35, he's getting up there. He's not going to play forever. Probably pay to like 38, 39 or so, probably bow out. So he's got a good 4 more years left. And I could see him winning maybe one title with the Lakers. But he's pretty much that gap. And, Lonzo's going to be there. Ingram's going to be there. Hart's going to be there. Kuzma's going to be there. That's a good young core right there. And just watching those guys play together, I think that's a pretty good young core there. And, once they start gelling and getting some more game plays together, you'll start seeing that this team was, and everybody said, oh, man, they lack the shooting. Well, they also, can score in the paint. They also can, they also have young, fresh legs. They also have defensive upside with all their length. Especially with Kuzma and Brandon Ingram. And that's one guy, if I'm going to say it for sure, who should start, should be Kyle Kuzma. He should definitely be starting. It should be a lineup of, either Rondo or Lonzo, Kuzma, LeBron or Ingram. LeBron or Ingram at the 4, and then JaVale McGee at the 5. And then, especially when you get into those bench units, you're talking about, Lance Stevenson coming off the bench with, Lonzo Ball, with Josh Hart, with, playing alongside with LeBron James or Brandon Ingram or Kyle Kuzma with the extended minutes. I think if there's anybody that's the odd man out that's not going to play a lot of minutes this year, it's Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Michael Beasley. Those guys are going to be at the end of the bench. But if there's one thing that they do have to address, the Lakers, it's definitely getting a big man, getting somebody that can rebound, that can come off and give JaVale McGee a breather, for about 15 minutes a game. 15 to 20 minutes a game. And also, JaVale McGee's not a starter in this league. JaVale McGee is a role player. And so, I think, next year or so, the Lakers, I think, will address to get a starting, hybrid type of 5/4 guy to play in that system with LeBron James, because that's what they need. And they need a guy that can actually go up there and rebound. A guy like Trevor Booker would be, perfect for them, give them second chance points or whatever, because like I said, and like everybody else sees, they're not a great 3-point shooting team. So you're going to get a lot of bricks this season. They're one of those streaky teams. They got a lot of streaky shooters on that team. Guys that are playmakers but streaky as well. So once they get 1 bucket, 2 buckets, they can hit threes. But if they start settling, you need a guy that's gonna clean up the glass, give him second chance points, and have LeBron, step back and run the offense or whatever the case is. So definitely, if that's something that they do have to address, It's going to be another big man, to rebound, and not even necessarily block shots, just rebound. Give them defensive rebounds, offensive rebounds. Limit the offense of opponents to, one-shot opportunities and not two-shot, three-shot opportunities like they have been doing, and which has been, messing them up this year. And then also the young team, it's gonna go. They're learning as time goes along. The Lakers, you got a lot of young players, and I saw it against the Spurs, a veteran team running sets, where there's a lot of motion, a lot of movement. I get those guys confused, watching the ball, you know what I mean, and not watching their man in their matchup. So, they'll learn that over time, and you can see definitely the improvement from Game 4 to Game 5, and hopefully we'll see a Game 6. A big surprise has been definitely the Raptors. They've been very surprising this year. They're undefeated. And they're not the only undefeated team. Also Milwaukee's undefeated. Detroit, Milwaukee and Detroit. I think Milwaukee actually between Milwaukee and Detroit and, Indiana or whatever, I think out of those three teams, Milwaukee's going to be the better team. I think they're going to take a step forward, with Coach Bud at the helm, implementing his system. And Giannis already, he's off to a historic start, to the season. And so he looks better. He looks like he's added to his game of whatever game he has. That guy is the future, Giannis Antetokounmpo. So, and then, you got, your New Orleans is 3-0. Denver just lost to, LA. Golden State's 4-1. Portland's look surprising, too. They look, pretty decent this year. Boston, they got a couple bad losses. They lost to I think they lost to Toronto the other day, 113-101. And then they just lost to the Magic 2 days ago. And then they just got a bounce back win against the Thunder, who next will I say. And those are teams that are surprised. Teams that I am disappointed in. A team that I am very disappointed in is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Very disappointing in them. They are 0-4. How is that team 0-4? Kind of blows my mind there, just a tad bit. And so it's just a matter of these guys aren't playing defense. Like I said, they gave up 131 points to the Sacramento Kings. And that was the day before. But, Russell Westbrook out there, I don't think he looks too healthy, but, he's out there bricking shots like, crazy. And, that team just needs to gel better. They don't have any guys that can just knock down a shot, outside of Russell Westbrook and Paul George. Maybe Alex Abrinas, maybe Dennis Schroeder, but that team lacks another shot maker. Steven Adams ain't gonna make no shots. He's the bruiser, but he ain't gonna make any shots for you. That you need, especially like high octane situations, game on the line type of thing, where you need some better perimeter play. Now I think they'll get a bunny against the Suns. Suns are, first of all, I think the Suns have a lot of talent. Okay, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton looks like he's gonna be a beast. T.J. Warren looks like a nice young piece. Josh Jackson, jury's still out on him. He looks like a nice young piece, and some days he looks like a bust to me. But I think the Suns are a team that's pretty much gonna suck it up this year again, get another high pick. It sucks to say that, but they're gonna suck it up this year again. They're gonna get another high pick. I honestly don't know what that franchise is doing there. I don't know what their plan is. They keep stockpiling these, and maybe they're doing the Philly thing. They're stockpiling all this young talent, and hopefully they think it will blossom someday. But in the Western Conference, you're gonna have to get results because you ain't playing in the East. you're playing against some tough competition out west, and so you really have to bring it. And so you hope that these young talents on the Suns can step it up in the next couple years, because this year they're going to suck it up. They're going to get another high pick, and probably next year they'll probably suck it up again, get another high pick. Now you're going to start to see, look, we need some W's, okay? We need some W's. So I think the Celtics, surprisingly, they haven't gotten out to the best start that we thought they would. We think they'll be probably undefeated up there with the undefeateds, with the Toronto Raptors or whatever. But the Celtics have they haven't gotten out right, and I would say Jason Tatum looks probably like the best player on that team right now. I mean, that dude looks almost like a young Kobe Bryant in a way. Kobe Bryant light, how we like to say Kobe Bryant is MJ light. Jason Tatum is like Kobe Bryant light, okay, with a little mix of Sprite, because he looked like the best player on Boston right now. And Gordon Hayward is still working his way back from that horrific ankle injury that he suffered last season in the early part, in the first game of the season. And Kyrie looks to Kyrie, I don't know. That team, it's a long season, man. It's only been the first couple weeks. And so I expect those guys to get on a roll here shortly. But they did stumble out the gates a little bit. So only first 2 weeks of the NBA season, and looks like what we thought it was. There's some teams that they're out of the playoff mix so far in the first 2 weeks, but next couple weeks, next month, you don't really start judging these teams till like All-Star break. You don't really start to see like, oh, that team sucks, or that team's good, or that team's gonna make the playoffs, or that team's not gonna make the playoffs till like All-Star break, a little after All-Star break. So that's that for the NBA. Next to Thursday night football, and I'm glad, and this guy right here is glad that I didn't start the Miami Dolphins defense on his fantasy team, because they just gave up a ton of points to the Texans. They gave up 42 points. They only scored 23 of their own. Deshawn Watson had 5 passing touchdowns. Let me go over his line with you. Okay, Deshaun Watson, who was picked? Who the Bears pick as quarterback? Oh, Mr. Trubisky. Oh yeah, they're probably kicking themselves about that one. Anyways, Deshaun Watson, 16 of 20, 239 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Almost a perfect quarterback rating at 156.0. The guy only missed 4 passes. I mean, Lamar Miller had 133 yards on the ground and a touchdown. And Deshaun Watson, he's not even using his legs. I mean, he had 1 carry for 14 yards. This guy's chucking it and ducking it, man. This dude is so efficient. When he's on, he's on. And the Texans are if he can stay healthy, the Texans, even last year when we were like, man, if he could stay healthy, we were like, man, this team it would be they're going to challenge New England for AFC supremacy. And then Deshaun got hurt. Jacksonville actually pretty much came into its own as a defense, even though they had troubles as an offense. And I think part of the trouble with Jacksonville and switching over to that same AFC, South or whatever, speaking of Jacksonville, what's hurting Jacksonville is not having a running game for Blake Bortles to open up the passing game. Leonard Fournette's hurt. A lot of people are, get rid of Blake. Well, wait. Leonard Fournette's hurt. They don't have pretty much a good running game. Even when Leonard Fournette was there, Blake had some trouble and some issues. But with Leonard Fournette there, that's a better offensive team. It helps Blake Bortles out a lot, or whoever the quarterback will be, for the rest of the season for Jacksonville. It looks like it's going to be QB by committee, but I think head ball coach is going to give Blake Bortles another shot. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Like I said, they came into their own last year, and when Deshawn Watson was injured, before he was injured, we were like, it was like Deshaun Watson got injured and J.J. Watt got injured. And we were like, man, these Texans are going to be pretty good. They're going to be pretty good. But they didn't end up being pretty good. So basically this year, I think the Texans have a they have a shot definitely to win their division, to be AFC champs. Not AFC champs, but they can. I think they can go to the AFC Championship game if they are, if they are healthy. So, I think New England is definitely still the favorite in the AFC, obviously. And I'll go over that. I'll definitely go over. We're gonna go over Sundays on Saturdays now, and for Saturday football, for college football, I'm gonna go over that tomorrow. Check in for the podcast tomorrow. But yeah, definitely, I think Houston is definitely a team that that you can count on. I think to be there, deep in the play, especially if Deshaun Watson's healthy, J.J. Watt's healthy. Jadeveon Clowney stays healthy. They get that pass rush going or whatever the case is, and sky's the limit for that team because they got a lot of talent. Will Fuller, DeAndre Hopkins. So that team could be very explosive coming down the stretch. And right now they're tied in the AFC, with New England with 5 wins. Obviously, Kansas City 6-1. The Los Angeles Chargers 5-2. Surprisingly, Los Angeles Chargers 5-2. And Phillip Rivers, future Hall of Famer. Melvin Gordon's having another excellent year there. And like I said, I'm gonna go over the week. I believe it's going to be week 8 if I'm not mistaken here. Yeah, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so week 8. I'll be going over those week 8 matchups this Sunday. And so definitely, Miami started off the gate hot, obviously, but they're starting to look like a team that's in dire need of a quarterback, obviously. Defense is boom or bust, very opportunistic defense, I think that, if I'm not mistaken, they're pretty much up there in sacks. Their defensive unit is up there in sacks in the league, and so, they're a boom or bust, type of defense. And it definitely doesn't help when you don't have a good quarterback. You have a Brock Osweiler out there as your quarterback. Kenyon Drake looks like a very good all-around back. He's coming into his own as a pass catcher out the backfield. He had a touchdown receiving and a touchdown, running the football. And he splits the carries pretty much with Frank Gore. But Kenyon Drake is coming to his own this year as a running back in the NFL. But the Dolphins, they're not going to make the playoffs this year. Let's just put it out that way. And, what a historic game for Deshaun Watson. I just want to throw that out there. And that's all I got to say. And I'm going to, keep that at a minimum and leave the football talk to Saturday. And the last topic I'll be talking about is this World Series. Let's get it over with already, right? Through 2 games, Boston's just downright the better team. They beat the Dodgers 4-2. That may not sound like a big thing, but 4-2 in baseball is pretty big. And I just think, the first game was 8-4. Clayton Kershaw gave up. How many runs did Clayton Kershaw give up that first? That first game was just like he gave up 5 earned runs, man, 3 base on balls, 4 innings pitched, only 5 Ks. So he didn't give up his best. He didn't give up his best stuff. And that game was close early. In the game, it was close early. But Boston just opened the floodgates. 5th inning, 7th inning. And they extended that lead. And Boston, 108 wins, historic season this year. I think that they're in LA 3 games. I think that I think the Dodgers win 1 in LA. They lose Saturday. And I think the Red Sox will be partying Sunday in LA because I don't see the Dodgers even sniffing winning 2 games against the Red Sox. It's not gonna happen. That outfield for the Boston Red Sox is historically defensively defensively historical, whatever, however you want to say those words. They're really good defensively. And the whole unit as a defense, they're up there with that Cubs team that might have been 2 years ago that won the World Series, that might have been one of the best defensive teams in baseball's history as well. So the Red Sox are probably even better than that this season, and so let's just get it over with. Let's crown the Red Sox the World Series champions. I think they're gonna win in 5. And I'll go by, as I make another podcast this weekend, another one we'll update those games. But Red Sox in 5, possibly 4. If they win Game 3, I think it's a sweep in LA. LA wins this Game 3. Boston wins 4 and 5. Definitely that. And so with that being said, I'll catch you guys Saturday. Catch the Prime. We're back. As you heard in the intro, I like to bring the music in. I like to, do my thing. But we're back. So I'll be bringing a podcast probably every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And enjoy, because we're bringing the best of the rest of the world. Out. Peace.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.